Good evening, GameStop investors. It is Thursday, January 8th, and I was going to make this video this morning, but I'm glad I waited because we have a new 8K from GameStop after market closed today, giving us the details that we've been waiting for on the option award agreement for Ryan Cohen. I already went through the basics a couple days ago. Let's go through just the new information that we learned today, January 8th. And here are a couple of highlight bullet items of what we're going to cover in this video. Starting off with number one, what is the expiration date of this grant that GameStop is giving to CEO Ryan Cohen? The second thing we're going to touch on, what happens after he exercises the options and takes the shares? Is there any mandatory holding period? How is performance EBITDA calculated? What does that mean? The cumulative performance EBITDA. And finally, the fourth item, something that I've been conversing with many people on social media about because most people just didn't get it right. Does Ryan Cohen have to cough up to $3.5 billion to exercise these options? Does GameStop have another windfall headed its way? Hint, the answer is no, but let's get into the details right now. I will put a link to the 8K down in the video description. I always urge you guys to go read the entire filings yourself. Once you find the 8K, go down to the option award agreement and click on that, and it will bring up a multi-page document with all of the legal stuff that we've been waiting to find out about. In this video, we're only going to talk about new information, things that we didn't know 2 days ago. We already know the grant date, the number of shares, and the exercise price. What is new information is the expiration date of the award. The date is 10 years from the grant date. That means this non-qualified stock option award is good until 2036. So when we think about those brackets for market cap and cumulative EBITDA, I want you to be thinking in terms of a 10-year target for Ryan Cohen to shoot for in growing the company. Assuming that shareholders approve this option award plan, once it is in place, there are different tranches of market cap and performance EBITDA that the company must meet for any of the individual tranches to vest. And one bit of new information that we have here is that the determination of market cap is going to be based on a 60-day market cap. This is actually pretty robust because they're not just saying if the market cap blips up for 1 day, Ryan Cohen's reward vests. It's got to maintain that market cap for the tranche over an average of 60 days. The other thing we learned in this document is what is the definition of performance EBITDA, and they clarify that it is the amount equal to the adjusted EBITDA. We didn't know if it was the GAAP EBITDA or the adjusted EBITDA. I went over the difference briefly in my video a couple days ago, but the company reports in its quarterly press releases at the end of the press release a reconciliation of net income to adjusted EBITDA. And you can see how the two numbers vary. Typically, adjusted EBITDA is going to be a higher number, so a little bit easier to get to the hurdle of each tranche as we accumulate adjusted EBITDA from quarter to quarter. The other thing it tells us here at the bottom of the page is that the first quarter is going to be the quarter that begins on February 1st. So we're going to start with a zero balance on adjusted EBITDA starting February 1st, and then we'll start adding it up as each quarter ends until we get to the first tranche level of $2 billion. And then we'll see what the market cap is at that time as well, and every day after that. Another thing that I found interesting as I was reading through this document is there's actually a holding period. And this, I think, is also robust from a shareholder perspective. Once Ryan Cohen vests on any of these tranches and then at any later date decides to exercise them and take the shares, it says that he cannot sell or dispose of those shares until after the 2-year anniversary after the date of exercise of the option. So short version of that, he's got a 2-year holding period for any shares after he exercises. The final thing I want to talk about, which I've been tweeting people and leaving comments here and there, is about how the exercise of non-qualified stock options work. Now, I have a little bit of personal experience with this. Some of you guys know, if you tune into my channel on a regular basis, my career was as an engineering manager, 15 years at a Fortune 100 company. That was 20 years ago. I've been doing my own thing since then. But during that 15-year period at that company, I received these very same type of non-qualified stock option awards. I think at one point they were worth $1 million before I retired. And from time to time, as they vested or as I was watching the stock price, I might exercise some of those options. Once you exercise any option that is awarded by the company, then you get the shares, they come into your account and they are yours to do with whatever you'd like. You could hold them or sell them. But there are several ways in which an employee or an executive like Ryan Cohen could choose to exercise those options. And strangely, the only thing I heard people talking about over the last 2 days was that Ryan Cohen was going to come out of pocket up to $3.5 billion of cash to exercise at the strike price of $20.66, any of these tranches. And in my personal experience, all of the executives I knew, my own self, anybody I've ever talked to, typically we don't pay cash to exercise our options. We use what is called net settlement and or cashless exercise. Think of it like if I tell you that I'm going to give you a $100 bill, but you've got to pay me $20 to get the $100 bill. You would say, well, Tony, why don't you just give me $80 and we'll call it even? That's how a net settlement works of these options. Now, he could, as it says in item number 1 here at the bottom of the screen, he could choose to pay in cash. I'm not saying that's not an option. It's just not a commonly chosen option because, first of all, I don't know. I would even question if Ryan Cohen has $3.5 billion of cash sitting in his checking account where he wants to write checks to exercise options. He probably doesn't want to sell any of his other investments to exercise options. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Because you want to preserve your personal liquidity. And the company in item number 2 right here in orange, just like every other non-qualified stock option award agreement I've seen, provides the employee or the executive the ability to do a net exercise, a cashless exercise, where they just keep part of them and give the employee whatever the award is above the exercise amount. I'll let you do your own math, but rough numbers, let's just give you an example. If the share price of GameStop goes up to $50.66, so he's in the money because the option exercise price is $20.66. And let's say the market cap and the cumulative EBITDA hurdles are both met. He gets access to 17.15 million shares and he elects a net settlement. He doesn't want to pay cash. He could, but he says, I don't want to spend my cash. I want to do a net settlement. He would, in effect, of these 17.1 million shares that he is awarded, be able to keep net about 10.15 million of those shares. And then also there is taxes to be accounted for. And that's roughly going to take another 20%. Don't worry, guys, if these tranches hit, I'm sure everybody's going to be happy to see the market cap go up. And whether Ryan Cohen chooses to do a cash exercise or a net settlement, a cashless exercise, he's going to come out just fine if one or all of these tranches hit over the next 10 years. Now, let's not get ahead of our skis and think that 100 billion market cap is going to happen in a year or two. This is a 10-year plan. And as I kind of framed it to you guys 2 days ago and the folks in my Discord, I kind of look at these sort of performance hurdles the way they were given to me when I was in the corporate world. You have your base level, tranche 1, which management thinks is reasonably attainable, and you have your stretch goals. And, you know, everybody wants to work really hard to make the stretch goal hit because the payout is there. So the incentive here is for Ryan Cohen to deliver up to $10 billion of cumulative EBITDA over the next 10 years. And at any point during that time, get the market cap to exceed any of these tranches up to $100 billion. And I sure hope he does. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions, drop them for me down below. Thanks for watching. I am Tony Denaro, and I will see you on the next video.